This video is sponsored by you, links to the channel in the description. I am currently running a thumbnail test, so if you see this as your thumbnail, it's your fault. If you're unsure on whether you should roll Nymph, there are two things to consider. One, do you have logos already? And two, are you going to play IS5 a lot? If you have logos and won't play IS5 much, avoid her as she has nothing to offer you, beside making you feel really girly pop against the Hello Kitty background in the home screen. If you don't have logos and won't play IS5 much, you should only roll her if you also have Arturia. If you don't have logos and will play IS5 a lot, then you should absolutely get her. If you have logos and will play IS5 a lot, you should still consider her very much, as she is one of the cornerstones of that mode, as I will explain in just a bit. At first glance, skill 3 might appear like her big girl main skill that will bend the enemies over and spank their cheeks. However, the truth is that this skill is extremely reliant on Arturia. The bulk of the damage comes from enemies being under Necrosis elemental proc, and the skill can't apply it on its own. Effectively, Nymph is in the position a lot of you wish you could be in, that being bound to Arturia. Without her, she loses more than half of her DPS, and Valkyrie doesn't help at all. Even then, if we are already conceding that one squad slot will be used for Arturia, she performs way better with logos. So, even in the optimal circumstances, Nymph skill 3 isn't the best option. This is because, while they have very similar single target damage, Logos skill 3 has a much wider range, better crowd control, and can hit one extra target. Where Nymph really shines is skill 2, with minimal SP support like Mostima or Tilopsis, both with module. This is a permanent stall for a singular enemy. The overwhelming majority of enemies and bosses aren't immune to fear, which means as long as you are willing to press the button every 5 seconds or so, that poor bastard will be getting the premium Sisyphus experience. This allows Nymph to exist as an independent operator separate from Arturia, which is more than I can say about other operators. Getting the permastall is even easier in IS5, as it is Relic Farm Bonanza, which makes Nymph one of the cornerstones of that mode. Though, for the first time in like 4 years, SUPAH fans will have their very first W, as she can also fulfill Nymph's role in that mode. Again, here's the pulling recommendation on screen right now. Mitm is extremely hot, however you probably shouldn't build him. His DP generation is pretty dog water at 0.3 DP a second with skill 1 and 0.21 DP a second with skill 2, so this leaves him as an early game lane holder, a niche that was erased 5 years ago when Myrtle came out. Skill 1 is also pathetic in the damage department. The explosion doesn't nearly do enough to justify removing the summon for 15 seconds. Skill 2 is actually pretty decent, the DPS isn't too shabby, it gains a bunch of defense and more block. The issue really is why would you ever use this over an actual lane holder, unless you're a new player and have nothing else. Tin Man is coming out with IS5, and I don't know in what video I'd put him, so here he is. Extremely good artworks, but not a fan of the chibi. It looks like it came out of an Arknights ripoff game. Talent 1 is good for IS5 if you want to use him there. Talent 2 buffs all DOT in the alchemy unit's range. Skill 1 gives an attack debuff and DOT to all enemies in the unit's range, with very great uptime as long as he keeps hitting enemies. And Skill 2 deals mostly inconsequential DOT damage and heals your units. Tin Man isn't something that I would build personally, but there's nothing bad in his kit per se. For example, if you have Shamare, then the need for Tin Man is massively reduced, and if you need your unit to stay alive, just, use a medic, since the DOT isn't contributing much. Here's the members, I love you, thanks to Mr. Legwood, Leon, Zilo, Joseph D, Bubo, Quil, Damage, Multi-Finity, Retro, Nubo, Otago, Nerd, Agent, Jumula, Macriwana, New Gixter, and Chrome, but JJF. That's all, much bye!